Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. Well, today we got an extended look at just how narrowly we avoided the January 6th insurrection becoming much, much worse. Because this morning, the seditious conspiracy trial of 5 members of the Oath Keepers started. That, of course, the far-right militia group who prosecutors say plotted to use violence and weapons, if necessary, to block the peaceful transfer of power. Now, even before today's opening arguments began, lawyers for one of the defendants argued to suppress evidence of 2 hand grenades found in an RV, apparently brought to D.C. by one of the alleged co-conspirators, this man named Jeremy Brown. Lawyers say Brown's DNA was not found on the grenades and that many members of his family, including his dog, used the RV, to which the judge reportedly replied, "Was it the dog's hand grenade?" And the topic of weapons, the potential for violence, was a recurring theme today, as it will likely be for the remainder of this trial. The government today previously released these security camera photos, seeming to show members of the Oath Keepers bringing what appear to be gun cases and rifle-shaped objects into a hotel room in Virginia. We already know from this seditious conspiracy indictment that a major component of the Oath Keepers' plan on January 6th, according to the government, was to ready a so-called quick response force, which, according to the Department of Justice, quote, were prepared to rapidly transport firearms and other weapons into D.C. in support of operations aimed at using force to stop the lawful transfer of presidential power. In one message quoted in the indictment, one Oath Keeper, a man by the name of Thomas Caldwell, even floated the idea of using boats to quickly bring large numbers of weapons from Virginia to D.C. Quote, "How many people have a boat on a trailer that could handle a Potomac crossing? If we had someone standing by at a dock ramp, one near the Pentagon for sure, we could have our quick response team with the heavy weapons standing by, quickly load them, and ferry them across the river to our waiting arms." Now, you might have heard of that defendant, Thomas Caldwell, before. It might ring a bell. And it's because he's appeared on Fox News quite a bit, where he's portrayed as a simple man who is being persecuted by an overzealous government.
So this indictment, so you're pushing 70, you're 100% military disabled, you spent a career in the Navy. This indictment paints you as the leader of a crack commando unit trying to stage a sort of D-Day invasion on the banks of the Potomac with what they describe as heavy weapons. Were you planning, what kind of heavy weapons do you think that refers to? Were you planning to do that?
I have no idea, and no, I was not, Tucker. Look, I was a Navy guy, okay? Now,
Right.
Navy guys do know about water, but it's like aircraft carriers, we're talking about blue water Navy here. So this other stuff I don't know anything about, didn't have any role in planning any of it. It's just more hooey.
So Caldwell's argument there, as you can see, sort of backed up by Tucker Carlson, is that these allegations are false, that I guess he never even wrote that in an email, that Caldwell's just a harmless old man. That's probably a characterization prosecutors would disagree with. According to a search warrant filing from earlier this year, when law enforcement searched Caldwell's home, they found, and I quote here, a document that included the words death list, handwritten across the top with the name of a Georgia election official, a purported family member of that official, and the county and state associated with that official, all handwritten underneath. Now, I should say a judge ruled prosecutors could not use that piece of evidence in this trial, which as a legal matter I think makes sense. But they appeared to have plenty other examples to choose from. According to NBC News reporter Ryan Riley, who was in the courtroom today, quote, the Department of Justice quoted Thomas Caldwell saying they would have killed 100 politicians if they had guns on January 6th. It was a sentiment apparently echoed by the leader of the Oath Keepers, another defendant named Elmer Stewart Rhodes III. As NBC News reports, quote, my only regret is that they should have brought rifles, Rhodes said in a recording from January 10th played by the government. He added that they could have fixed it right then and there if they had weapons with them at the Capitol. So far, 3 Oath Keepers, keep in mind, have already pleaded guilty to seditious conspiracy. 4 more have pleaded guilty to conspiring to obstruct Congress during the insurrection. And the Department of Justice has mountains of evidence in the form of messages the Oath Keepers sent each other. And so the argument from this trial, at least so far, again, first day, appears to broadly go like this, that the defendants didn't actually do anything illegal. Rhodes and his lawyers in particular have argued that Rhodes was simply waiting for Donald Trump to invoke the Insurrection Act. That's a pre-Civil War law that would essentially allow the president to deputize these militia groups to act on behalf of the government. That appears to be the argument that Rhodes made on conspiracy theorist Alex Jones' show ahead of January 6th.
We have men already stationed outside D.C. as a nuclear option in case they attempt to remove the president illegally. We will step in and stop it. So I've got good men on the ground already. We've did a leaders recon there last week, and we're sorting out what we're going to be staging, and we'll be there. We'll be inside D.C. We'll also be on the outside of D.C. armed, prepared to go in if the president calls us out.
Again, according to Ryan Riley, prosecutors said today the Oath Keepers, quote, think Insurrection Act were magic words that would give them cover. Then they played audio of Rhodes saying the Insurrection Act was legal cover. And of course, Donald Trump did not end up invoking the Insurrection Act, but the Oath Keepers seemed to go about their plan anyway. That's pictures of some of them going up into the building. And then some of them allegedly lamented that they did not bring weapons to the Capitol to make things even more violent, potentially deadlier than they had been. Imagine if a bunch of folks there, trained ex-military particularly, had heavy weapons, what that day would have looked like. Right at the end of today's proceedings, we also got a preview of more there is to come. According to a reporter from Reuters, quote, the government showed some evidence of communications between the Oath Keepers and Roger Stone. Now, that's an interesting shoe to drop. Stone, of course, the longtime political advisor to Donald Trump. His involvement as a potential liaison between militia groups and the White House is of great interest to all the various entities investigating the insurrection. All of which is to say, we still have a lot more to learn from this trial and is only getting started.